Right, so we are live. Okay. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Raven Review and Sparrow Planning meeting. As you know, we've released Raven earlier this week. That's ONOS 2.1. And so the development has de facto started on the next release, which has been named Sparrow. The rough outline for the schedule is the goal is to release at the end of August, with feature freeze to be done in the first week, after the first week of August. And thought here is to have just one milestone review, kind of like the last release, just kind of dab in the middle of the release cycle. So I've put these dates on the ONOS calendar, so you should be able to refer to them there. So that's just kind of the scaffold for it. Really, the major release, major themes, I don't think, I've struggled with identifying them. For the most part, from a platform perspective, it's just doing maintenance to keep up with various frameworks to keep the release up to date. But as far as the core and platform, it's all stable. So this will primarily be just, I expect there will be developments in the peripheral area. The idea here is for the core team to start focusing on a micro ONOS design, which is the next generation architecture. And that started already actually in the beginning of this year. So on core and platform Raven accomplishments, Ray, do you want to speak to this one?
This is for Raven, yeah. We've basically been trying as best as we can to, that actually should be 0.24, I screwed that up, sorry. We're trying to keep up as best as we can with the basal releases. We don't want to get into the situation we were in with Buck where we get hopelessly out of date. And we've been trying to keep up with Carafe because we've noticed some sort of unstable behavior, I would say, in the 4.2.x versions of Carafe. So we're attempting to keep up with those as best as we can.
Because they're fixing.
Hopefully they're fixing things, yeah, exactly. And we will continue to do that for the next release as well. We'll try to keep it up to whatever the current released versions of those two tools are.
And then basically the idea is to continue this in the background activity while we work on micro.
Exactly. We also continue to run, we have a fairly good collection of STC smoke tests now. We continue to run those daily and fix things as they come up. Those have proven to be pretty useful in terms of finding weird edge conditions and stuff. We have one for Trellis T4, we have one for Trellis HAG, we have just a general smoke test that does bunches of network things, creating and destroying intents and flows and that kind of stuff. And those three tests have actually uncovered quite a lot of problems.
Just to be clear, those are developer side.
Yes, but for QA agencies, yeah.
So I think that was probably the major progress that was done on in Raven was along the integration with Stratum. So this was integration with the new generation SD interfaces such as P4 runtime, GNMI, GNOI. So this is where a number of advancements made with respect to the current ONOS southbound dealing with new generation interfaces. And so it was a bunch of work done both for various show demos as well as for the P4 workshop tutorial that just happened. I'm not 100% familiar in detail with what these things, so rather than reciting them, emptily, I'm just going to let folks go through it. The idea here is that basically the Trellis project is also implemented on top of P4 fabric of before program and implement it using the generation SDN interface. So for the Sparrow release, this work will continue with respect to working on P4. We add some additional features for IPv6 and DNG PPOE terminations, and also to integrate with the Broadcom fixed function chips. On a QA, do you want to take that?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So for QA in Raven, we have the following accomplishments. So first, we made some improvements to Cho test. We were able to run Cho with segment routing and hack topology, and we were also able to run Cho test now on the hardware trellis part. Then we made also some improvements to the QA workflow. Like now it's easier for us to check the results because Tesson will automatically report the abnormal test results to Slack channel. Then with the help from community, we are now able to support fabric.p4 in the segment routing system tests. And we also started some initial work on Kubernetes-based atomics and ONOS HA testing. Okay, the next slide. So in Sparrow release, we planned on the following deliverables. First, we want to do some cleanup and reorganization of our existing functional and use case test cases. Then we want to make some improvements to Jenkins and Wiki by refactoring the current Jenkins scripts to make it more manageable and easier to update when new releases come. And also, again, we want to make the QA workflow more simple by so currently there's still some manual work involved every time we have a new release, like creating new wiki pages, new images on the pages, something like that. And now we want to make it also automatic to every time we have new release, the new wiki pages and everything will be automatically created and updated. And then we will also continue to work on the HA test based on Kubernetes environment. So the milestone is just repeating these deliverables, including the organized functional test, use case tests, Jenkins wiki improvement, and the Kubernetes-based HA tests. That's it.
Great, thank you. John, are you on?
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
Hey, so yeah, I'd like to provide some quick updates on the Kubernetes support from ONOS side. So to summarize, we almost implemented all the Kubernetes communication models in Raven release. So first of all, now ONOS sort of support the pod-to-pod communication as well as service IP-based communications, and also node to pod and the pod to external communications and so on. So those parts are all done. And after that, we also added the support for IPAM support using the CNI extension, and also implemented the Kubernetes node bootstrapping features. So those type of day zero provisioning has been added. And also we cached all the Kubernetes resources into the atomic store. So when we have when we query the Kubernetes resource, we do not need to directly connect to the clients. We just need to query the store, then all the resources have been there. And also we added some support for CLI. This is the status what we have done so far. Could you go to the next page?
Yes.
Okay. So for the Sparrow deliverable, we plan to support the data plane acceleration, which is mostly for OVS DPDK, as well as the SmartNIC-based acceleration, which is mostly leverage the SR-IOV and those type of thing. And also for and the second bullet point that we would like to enhance is we would like to provide the part-to-part traffic visibility. So which means we can extract the part-to-part traffic matrices like statistics to the third party like NMS and to visualize that. So we already sort of done the similar thing for OpenStack. So I think we just need to make some minor changes to that application, and then I think that application can also be used to monitor the Kubernetes like resources. And also, so far, the missing part is we did not implement the CNI installer yet because it requires install lots of like components like OVS, kubeadmin, and the Sonar CNI and Kubernetes application. So those type of things, I think we supposed need to be done in the next 2 release. And then we are initially thinking of using the Ansible playbook plus the Helm chart to automate all the installation like phase. And the last one is we would like to integrate this with OpenStack like a network support without using the Courier Kubernetes CNI. So in this case, we can seamlessly like transition from OpenStack to the Kubernetes in our data center. So the helps requested from the community side is because the SmartNIC what we have so far is very limited. We only have maybe the SmartNIC from 2 vendors. So we hope that the community side can help us to do more assessment on this data plane performance using some other types of like a SmartNIC. And also, if the community side have some resources, it would be good to help us to implement the Sonar CNI installer. And now our model is only support Kubernetes community version, but since we are using the Fabric 8 like dependency, so I think it's pretty much easy to support OpenShift as well. And also now by using the current implementation, we only do some load balancing based on service IP, but if there are some external like commercialized load balancer, it would be good to do some integration with the Sonar CNI in this case as well. And also we would like to improve the Istio and the Envoy like a performance by using the SmartNIC based like approach. And also there were some vendors, they feel interested about trying to integrate this with the ON.Lab existing RDs. So it'd be good to see that community side can help us to do some integration job, like Siba or Trellis and OMAG as well. And the last one is the control plane data plane failover part. So sometimes the atomic store is sort of like a broken, and we hope that we can use the ACID as a secondary fallback, like a data store in case the atomic store is totally broken. And I know this part is a bit tricky to implement, but I know we hope this feature to be edited maybe later on, and also to fully manage all the life cycle of Sonar CNI. It'd be good to implement the Kubernetes operator to do all the jobs in the background. So in that case, we do not need to implement our own like EMS to monitor ONOS and and those type of things. That's it from my side.
Okay. This is great. Thanks, John. Did you have a demo?
Yeah. So I have a short demo about the work what we have done so far.
Yeah. Here, let me pass you the control scenes.
Okay. So can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. So before going to the demo, I'd like to briefly do some recap on our architecture. So this is the overall architecture what we designed. So Sona application, so Kubernetes like support application consists of two parts. One is a Kubernetes node, and another one is a Kubernetes networking. So the node is mostly for doing some bootstrapping like features, like adding bridge and ports and things. And the networking application is in charge of adding the flow rules into the OVS to make the pod-to-pod connectivity. So let me go dive into the demo. So, okay. So here is ONOS CLI, and after going to the CLI, I already installed the Kubernetes application already. So once we go into the CLI, then you can see that we have three nodes. One master and the two worker nodes. And those are the IP address of each node. So the demo what I like to run is I would like to install some hand chart by exposing the node port. And in that case, the expected behavior is that we can use the node IP and port and the access to a certain part. That is the first demo. So here, this is the Kubernetes master node. And if you take a look at it, so now we only have three pods, right? And if you take a look at the IP tables, in this case, there's no rules. So those are all dummy like chain names. There's no like a specific rules added into the IP table. So there's almost no rules in IP table. So what I would like to show is like, I just want to show that just by using the OpenFlow, we can do all the Kubernetes networking like stuff. So first of all, I would like to, hold on. So I like to use the ham to install the Grafana, and by exposing node port. So once run this command, ONOS start to detect the pod creation events here, and then the pod has been created. Then we can see we need to query the node port that what we have just created. So now the node port here, what we have been created is this one. And in the write behavior, we can use the web browser to log into the Grafana, right? So here the node port is 26389, right? Then the Grafana will show up, right? And then you can use the password can log into Grafana, right? So basically, all the communication model has been supported for now, and we also can query the Kubernetes the resources like a pod and services just from the ONOS GUI, so ONOS CLI. So no need to run the Kubernetes CLI. We just need we can query all the stuff from the CLI, so which can easily work to troubleshoot and things. That's it.
Great. Thank you, John.
Yep.
Gerald, just a minor question from myself.
Okay.
Is it possible to automate that process where you would get the port for then logging into the UI? Is that a process that can be automated or scripted in a way that the port is fixed and then known beforehand so that manual step is not needed?
So here, node port will be automatically generated by Kubernetes. So there's no way to specify the node port. But what we can do is we can specify the service port or the pod port. Those type of things can be specifiable. So so for example, IO2 YAML files. So we can use the Kubernetes. So this YAML file it's just deploy 3 pods by opening this port number, 50,000 like port number. Okay, so this type of thing can be doable, but there's no way to specify the service port number and the node port number so far, as far as I know. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, John. Sean, are you on?
Yeah, Tom, I'm here.
Okay, you want to talk about UI. I purposely didn't mention it, but then I didn't notice that. I noticed that we didn't actually have a slide there reflecting one fairly significant change in the Raven release, which was the adoption of the new generation GUI. So I'll let you talk about that. Is that all right? I'll give you.
Yeah, that's fine. Maybe let me see. I want to see what I can share. Maybe if you just share the slides first, Tom, and then I'll share my screen for the demo.
Okay, 1 second. So what slides am I sharing?
The ones you had for Raven, I think the GUI 2 slides are down in it.
Sorry, okay, my bad. It appeared after the demos, so I was assuming that the demos were last. Okay.
Yeah.
My bad. So here, can you see it now?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah, so this time around for Raven, I made a big push on the topology view, and I wanted to get it to the level that it would give the functionality that you had in the demo the last time, Tom. Pushed for a lot of things there. So added in background maps that were there previously in the old GUI, absolute locations. I also added a grid view. I found myself getting frustrated with the GUI. It was very hard to know where fixed location items should be, and if you didn't have a background map and so on. So I can show that in the demo. Selections of multiple nodes, I added that, and displaying, creation of host-to-host intents and that kind of thing. Display of mastership, and then dynamic updates was another kind of thing that took a bit of effort. So basically, you add a device, and it springs up on the GUI and goes away, and grays out if it's disconnected, and so on like that. So we've got a lot of functionality there now. So it's one of the other things I did is restructure things a bit, and so now the topology view is in its own library, and that's an Angular, I guess it's an NPM library, and so what I want to do is on the site npmjs.org, I want to upload GUI 2 and GUI framework and those kind of things so that they can be reused by other people potentially, and I think we will reuse them in micro ONOS as well. It should be a matter of just lifting those out, and as long as the backend WebSocket can be mimicked by the new infrastructure, it should be no problem getting the GUI working with that as well. So yeah, you can flick to the next slide, Tom. So really, these are, I suppose, what we want to do for Sparrow. So what's not in Raven is all of the topology overlays. So the overlays were an extension mechanism on the topology view, and basically they're not implemented. So people still have the capability of going back to the existing GUI if they have overlays developed themselves and haven't migrated apps. They can still go back to the existing GUI One other thing I wanted to do is have an ability to search for a device on the topology view, and the way I see that working is that there's an icon on the toolbar. It will bring up a search box, and as you type in the name of a device, it highlights all devices that match that name, either in part or full. So that could be helpful if you have lots of nodes on the one screen. And what I'd like to do is bring back the regions and sub-regions that were there in Topo 2. You know, I think that's an important feature to give the hierarchy of maps or shelf views, or, you know, whatever you have, data center views. And then the other thing I want to do is improve the documentation and archetypes so that people can start taking on this GUI to work themselves and start extending it and building on it. And that's something I'm actually helping Boyan, I think, is working on Andrea's project ODTN. I'm helping him with that at the moment. So that's something I hope to get fully in there. So basically, the overlays, I think, is the first important part for milestone 1, but hopefully we'll make progress on all of those deliverables. And so at the end of GUI 2, we had a kind of a snag list, and I've turned that snag list into Jira tickets. So they're up there on Jira now, and they're all listed underneath the GUI epic. And what I want to do is have a go at that GUI epic. I think there's 69 you know, bugs on it now, and some of them have gone away altogether because we have GUI 2 now, and I'd hope to clean that out and tackle all of the remaining issues. Okay, so I can show a demo now, and that's probably the best way to proceed. So if you can make me presenter.
Yep.
Okay, so let's see. So hopefully you can see this view.
Yes.
Okay, so I've got three nodes in my cluster, and basically I have a bunch of switches, and you know, all of that usual, you know, floating around and kind of stuff is there. And then I've got fixed nodes here. Now what I've done is I've sort of repurposed the unpin keyboard shortcut. So let me just bring up the quick help here. So this is / oh, sorry, no. This is an older version, and in the older version all of the quick help was in French, but that has been updated in the released 2.1 version. So anyway, U is unpin and pin. So basically I don't have any nodes selected here. What I'm going to do is press the U key, and now it's pinned all of those floating nodes so that you know, you can move them around without having everything else reacting. And if you type it again, U, they go off into an unpinned mode again. So it's, I think you know, there was it looked a bit too alive, really. Sometimes what I've added in as well is you can see on the icon here that there's a kind of a small white bracket up at the top right, and that basically means that the thing is pinned. And then on other nodes, you've got a bracket bottom left and top right, and this is a node that has a fixed location, like a geo coordinates in it. So it's just a kind of a visual cue for people to help them understand, you know, what's pinned and what's not. So if I press U again, that bracket goes away off this node because it's unpinned. So this was a fixed node, but I've repositioned it now, and there's an X keyboard shortcut to put that back in its location as well. And let me see, one of the other things I've done, yeah. So the mastership is working. Let me see. You can highlight devices by mastership and so on like this. And I think the other thing I wanted to show was the grid view. So pressing Q now gives you a grid view. So this is a 1000 by 1000 grid, and by default it fills the height of the screen. And as you zoom in and out, then by scrolling up and down, you know, and panning by dragging the mouse cursor, you can see where your devices are. So by default, you know, all of these floating nodes end up within the 1000 by 1000 square. Then I have pressing Q again gives you a geogrid, and basically this is for you know, maps, and so I can bring up my geomaps here. Sorry, that's the icon I made for the cycle the grid display. So if I want to select a background map, I'm going to select Ireland here because I have, and then I'm just going to turn it on. So what it does is it zooms. What it does is it zooms the width of the extents here. So you've got UK and Ireland, and basically it's showing the 3 nodes positioned on this, and resetting the node brings me back out to the you know, the maximized view again, and my icons are scaling with the view. So you know, where you're picking a particular country like USA, or you know, whatever, Europe or whatever like this, you know, it's useful to have this geomap to see where you are in the whole world of it. Now, there's a couple of things that I'd like to, you know, explore with people. Is like, you know, when I zoom in on a map, I'm going to hide the background map and display it again. Should my floating nodes fill the extent of this screen? You know, should this be my new reference for floating nodes? That's something I can change and can give that kind of functionality. But you know, I wanted to get that level of functionality in there first before we start changing anything. So I think that's most of what I had to show. Has anyone any questions on it?
I don't have any questions. No, this is great, John. Good to see that we'll be able to use this for micro ONOS.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Okay, I'll stop sharing here then. Thanks very much.
We can bring back the. I think this is it for the different sections of the presentation. So again, just as a reminder here, this is the timeline for the release. I'll be notifying the community of the upcoming milestone 1 probably a couple of weeks before we get to it, so that people can start preparing their content for it. I think that's all I had at this point in time. And again, please stay engaged in TST meetings to keep abreast of what's happening with the Micro ONOS project, and we definitely welcome your involvement and help. That's all for today. Thanks everybody, and let's have a successful Sparrow release. Bye-bye.
Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.